The most disturbing aspect of this case isn't just that a son murdered his entire family on Halloween night. It's that when a teenage neighbor discovered the 3 brutally beaten bodies, he initially thought it was an elaborate Halloween prank, because the scene was so horrifically staged that it seemed too gruesome to be real. What followed was one of Ohio's most shocking family annihilations, carried out by a young man whose descent into madness had been building for months. Viewer discretion is advised. If you're intrigued by true crime cases that reveal the darkest aspects of human nature, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel with notifications turned on for more chilling stories like this one. On the morning of November 1st, 2010, in the rural community of Carrollton, Ohio, what should have been the aftermath of Halloween festivities became the scene of one of the most brutal family murders in the state's history. The Liska family home at 7052 North Ohio Route 2 had become a house of horrors, where 3 innocent people had been savagely beaten to death by someone they trusted completely, their own son and brother, William B.J. Liska Jr. The Liska family appeared to be living the American dream. William Liska Sr., 53, was a hard-working man who had built a successful life for his family. He had remarried after his first marriage ended, finding love with Susan Lisk, a 46-year-old woman who brought warmth and stability to their household. Susan's son from a previous relationship, Derek Griffin, had been welcomed into the family as if he were William Sr.'s own child. At 17, Derek was a typical teenager, athletic, popular at school, and looking forward to his senior year of high school. The family dynamics seemed normal on the surface, but beneath the veneer of suburban tranquility, serious problems were brewing. William Liska Jr., known to everyone as BJ, was a 24-year-old man struggling with severe mental health issues that his family was only beginning to understand. BJ had been living with his father and step-family, but his behavior had become increasingly erratic and concerning in the months leading up to that fateful Halloween night. BJ had a history of mental illness that included episodes of paranoia, violent outbursts, and periods of deep depression. Those close to the family later revealed that BJ had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, a severe mental disorder that can cause hallucinations, delusions, and violent behavior when left untreated or inadequately managed. The family had tried to help BJ, but the stigma surrounding mental illness in rural Ohio, combined with limited resources and BJ's own resistance to treatment, made it difficult to get him the help he desperately needed. In the weeks before Halloween 2010, BJ's condition had deteriorated significantly. Family members noticed that he was becoming more withdrawn and suspicious, often muttering to himself and displaying signs of paranoid thinking. He had been having difficulty maintaining employment and had been spending more time alone in his room, emerging only for meals or brief, tense interactions with his family members. The stress of living with someone experiencing a severe mental health crisis was taking its toll on the entire household. William Sr. had tried to maintain a relationship with his troubled son, even planning a hunting trip that they had both enjoyed in the past. Hunting was one of the few activities that seemed to calm BJ and provide a connection between father and son. The trip was scheduled for the weekend before Halloween, and William Sr. hoped that the time spent together in nature might help stabilize BJ's deteriorating mental state. However, this well-intentioned gesture would inadvertently provide BJ with access to the weapons he would later use in his horrific crime. Halloween night, 2010, began like any other evening in the Liska household. Susan was preparing for bed after a quiet evening at home, while Derek was likely finishing homework or relaxing after the Halloween festivities that had taken place earlier in the day. William Sr. was probably settling in for the night, unaware that his son was experiencing a complete psychological break that would transform him from a troubled young man into a cold-blooded killer. What exactly triggered BJ's violent episode that night may never be fully understood. Mental health experts who later examined the case suggested that he may have been experiencing a psychotic break, during which his grip on reality became so tenuous that he perceived his family members as threats that needed to be eliminated. In his distorted mental state, the people who loved him most became the targets of his rage and paranoia. The attack began sometime in the late evening hours of October 31st or the early morning hours of November 1st. BJ armed himself with a baseball bat and a knife, weapons that were readily available in the family home. His first victim was Derek Griffin, the 17-year-old stepbrother who had done nothing more than have the misfortune of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The attack on Derek was particularly savage, with BJ using both the bat and the knife to inflict fatal injuries. The violence was so extreme that it suggested a complete loss of control and humanity. After killing Derek, BJ turned his attention to his stepmother, Susan. The attack on Susan was equally brutal, with evidence suggesting that she may have tried to defend herself or escape before succumbing to her injuries. The fact that BJ could kill the woman who had welcomed him into her home and treated him as her own son demonstrates the complete breakdown of his mental faculties and his inability to recognize the bonds of family and love. The final victim was William Sr., BJ's own father, the man who had tried so hard to help his troubled son, who had planned hunting trips and made efforts to maintain their relationship despite BJ's deteriorating condition, became the last to die in this senseless massacre. The killing of his father represented the ultimate betrayal of family bonds and the complete destruction of everything that had once connected BJ to his humanity. After committing these horrific murders, BJ fled the scene, leaving behind a crime scene so gruesome that it would haunt the investigators and first responders for years to come. The three bodies were discovered the next morning by Devin Griffin, Derek's 16-year-old brother, who had come to the house looking for his sibling. The teenager's initial reaction, thinking the scene was an elaborate Halloween prank, speaks to the surreal and horrific nature of what he encountered. Devon's discovery of the bodies and his call to 911 set in motion a massive law enforcement response. Carroll County Sheriff's deputies, Ohio State Police, and other agencies converged on the Liska home, quickly determining that they were dealing with a triple homicide of unprecedented brutality for their rural community. The crime scene was so disturbing that even experienced investigators struggled to process what they were seeing. The search for BJ Liska began immediately, with law enforcement agencies across Ohio and neighboring states joining the manhunt. BJ had fled in a vehicle, and authorities feared that his mental state made him extremely dangerous to anyone he might encounter. The fact that he had just killed 3 members of his own family suggested that he posed a significant threat to public safety. BJ was apprehended several hours after the discovery of the bodies, found by Carroll County Sheriff's deputies who had been searching the area. When arrested, he showed no remorse for his actions and appeared to be in a dissociative state, as if he was not fully aware of the magnitude of what he had done. His behavior during the arrest and subsequent interrogation provided further evidence of his severe mental illness. The legal proceedings that followed were complicated by BJ's obvious mental health issues. Prosecutors had to determine whether he was competent to stand trial and whether his mental illness affected his ability to understand the charges against him or assist in his own defense. Mental health experts were brought in to evaluate BJ's condition and provide testimony about his state of mind at the time of the murders. The case highlighted the tragic intersection of mental illness and violence, raising difficult questions about how society deals with individuals who suffer from severe psychiatric disorders. BJ's family had tried to help him, but the resources available for treating serious mental illness, particularly in rural areas, were limited. The stigma surrounding mental health issues also made it difficult for the family to seek the intensive treatment that BJ needed. In August 2011, BJ Liska pleaded guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder, avoiding a potential death penalty sentence. The plea agreement resulted in 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would never again be free to harm innocent people. The guilty plea spared the community the trauma of a lengthy trial and allowed the victims' families to begin the long process of healing. The Halloween Massacre, as it came to be known in the local media, had a profound impact on the small community of Carrollton, Ohio. Residents struggled to understand how such violence could occur in their peaceful rural area, and many questioned whether there were warning signs that had been missed or ignored. The case also sparked discussions about mental health resources and the need for better support systems for families dealing with severe psychiatric disorders. For the surviving family members, particularly Derek's brother Devin, who discovered the bodies, the trauma of that Halloween morning would last a lifetime. The loss of 3 beloved family members in such a violent and senseless manner created wounds that would never fully heal. The fact that the killer was someone they had loved and tried to help made the tragedy even more difficult to comprehend. The story took a final tragic turn in April of 2015, when BJ Liska was found dead in his prison cell at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution. He had taken his own life, ending a story that had begun with mental illness and family dysfunction, and concluded with the ultimate destruction of everyone involved. His suicide robbed the victims' families of any possibility of understanding his motivations or finding closure through his continued imprisonment. The Halloween Massacre serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences that can result when severe mental illness goes untreated or inadequately managed. While BJ Liska was ultimately responsible for his actions, the case also highlights the failures of a system that was unable to provide the intensive treatment and support that might have prevented this tragedy. The deaths of William Lisk Sr., Susan Lisk, and Derek Griffin represent not just the loss of 3 innocent lives, but also the complete breakdown of a family that had tried to stay together, despite overwhelming challenges. Today, the Liska family home stands as a silent monument to one of Ohio's most shocking crimes. The community of Carrollton continues to grapple with the memory of that terrible Halloween night, when a young man's descent into madness destroyed everything he had once held dear. The case remains a cautionary tale about the importance of mental health awareness and the need for comprehensive support systems for families dealing with psychiatric disorders. If you found this tragic true crime case as compelling and disturbing as we did, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel with notifications turned on. We examine the most shocking criminal cases and explore the psychological and social factors that contribute to such devastating violence. Your support helps us continue investigating these difficult but important stories. Until next time, remember that behind every headline about family violence lies a complex web of mental illness, missed opportunities, and human tragedy that deserves our understanding, even as we struggle to comprehend the incomprehensible.